Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ta'ala Sayyidina Muhammadin Ashraf al-Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala yawmiddin. We begin by praising Allah Ta'ala. It is right to be praised. We're asking for His praise and blessings for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family and his companions, and all his brethren in prophecy, and everyone else who follows in his footsteps. May Allah make us amongst them. Ameen. Tonight, alhamdulillah, we heard the 6 parts of the 16th juz of the Quran. We began with the end of Surah Al-Kahf, and we are now in the middle of Surah Maryam. And we'll end the juz, inshallah, with Surah Taha. These verses and these surahs that we're listening to tonight, the majority of the ayats concern themselves with telling us the events that occurred in the lives of many prophets. Allah Ta'ala in Surah Maryam, He begins by relating to us the surah of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, how he was born, some of his experiences with his people. He continues then speaking about the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, his interactions with his father and the other disbelievers of his time. After that, he goes on to other prophets, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Idris alayhi salam. He speaks about all of them a little bit. He finishes the surah and he starts with Surah Taha. And he relays again the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam in great detail. And towards the end of the surah, he speaks to us about Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam and some of the things that occur in his life. Allah Ta'ala did this for us for a reason. He says in his book, He says, وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ رُسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. He says, what we relate to you of the news or the stories of the prophets, it is to make your hearts firm. It is to make your hearts firm. For us to hear these events, these things that occurred in the past, and to use them as a means of extracting wisdoms, extracting benefits for our lives, to see how the prophets, alayhimus salam, handled certain things in their lives, certain events, certain difficulties, how they responded, how they interact with their families and their people, and for us to see what happened to the people, the communities that obeyed the message of their prophets and the ones that didn't. And so Allah Ta'ala repeats this continuously in the Quran. The stories of the prophets are scattered throughout the book of God. To the point that, for example, the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, it's mentioned in Surah Maryam and Surah Taha and Surah Baqarah and other surahs. So this repeated, the repetition of these stories is a sign to us. Repetition is a way of relaying importance and significance of something to the listener or to the reader. When someone repeats something over and over again in their book or in what they're saying, it's a sign that what they're saying is important. They want you to focus on it and learn it really. And so Allah Ta'ala repeats this to us many, many times, the stories of these prophets, for one single reason. And that is for us to readjust our perspective in life and to understand that these prophets are the ones whom we should learn more about and hold in high regard. Allah Ta'ala, who created the heavens and the earth, the cosmos and everything in it, all animal and plant life, everything from the beginning of creation to the end of it does not occur except that He decrees it. He could have told us stories about anything, how the cosmos was formed, how this occurred in history, how that occurred in history, but He chose to continuously relate to us the stories of these prophets for our benefit, for us to learn more about them, for us to learn how to take what they came with and implement it in our lives. And this is beautifully summarized near the end of Surah Taha, after Allah Ta'ala speaks about the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, and He speaks a little bit about the story of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, and what happened between him when he ate from the tree in Jannah. Allah Ta'ala says to Sayyidina Adam, He said, قَالَ احْبِطَا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ مِنِّي هُدًى فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى. He says, go down, you all of you. After Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam ate from the tree and he was brought from heaven to earth, Allah Ta'ala said to him, go down, you all, and He's speaking to him, his wife, and all his progeny. All of creation is being spoken to in that moment because all of them are present in Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam's loins. He said to them, go down. Some of you are the enemies of the others. And He was addressing Iblis then as well, the devil, that he is our enemy, the enemy of humanity. Because he is the one who asked Allah Ta'ala to to be left alive to the last day so he can lead us astray. And then he says, فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى. He says, when my guidance comes to you, whoever follows it will not be astray and won't be damned. When my guidance comes to you, whoever follows it will not be led astray and won't be damned, won't be tormented, won't be punished in the next life. He's saying this to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, his wife, Iblis, and all the creation. When the guidance of Allah comes to us in the form of prophecy, in the form of prophets and their books, in the form of a revelation being articulated to us in the tongues of prophets and on the people who come after them, from the scholars, for example, in our modern age. When this comes to us, when we follow it, what do we get? We are not led astray, not in this life, nor are we ones who will be punished or tormented in the next. But what happens if we don't follow it? He says, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. And the person who turns away from my remembrance, who turns away from this revelation that comes to the prophets, the books of Allah Ta'ala, the message the prophets came with, the one who turns away from it, what is waiting for them? فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. He will live a life that Allah describes as dank. Dank means to be constricted, stressed, worried, full of woes and tribulations, and in torment, in severity, in punishment. So their life in this world and the next is one of what? Is one of just hardship. Is one of just hardship. وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. And they'll be resurrected on the next day, blind. This is what Allah is saying to us. He says, when our guidance comes to you, if you follow it, you will lead a happy life in this world and the next. If you do otherwise, you will live a terrible life in this world and the next. And this is one of the, not just a fact of this world, but it's something Allah is directly telling us. It's not something someone came to through armchair thinking or experiments. Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, is telling us directly. If you follow the sunnah of your prophet, if you follow the message he comes with, you will live a felicitous life in this world and the next. Otherwise, if you do otherwise, you will live opposite of that. You will live a life where you are stressed. You will live a life of turmoil. You will live a life of just problems after problems, if not only in this world, but in the next as well. And so, scholars of Islam, in their books, they ingrain this in our minds. The great Imam, Ahmad bin Zayn al-Habashi, the Hadrami scholar, he says in his book, Al-Risala al-Jami'ah, it's a light book, it's really small, they usually teach it to elementary students or to children in Yemen. In the very beginning of the book, almost an introduction, he says, we believe that everything the Prophet ﷺ came with is to lead us to felicity in this world and the next. Every single thing he came with, from the du'as of putting on your clothes, to how to put on your shoes, to how to use the bathroom, to how to get married, to how to treat your wife, to how to be a good neighbor, to how to pray, to how to deal with your money, to how to have a good opinion of your Lord and of creation, every single thing he came with brings us to have felicity in this life and the next. And anything that goes against that will only lead to one thing. And that is a life where one is in turmoil and tribulation in this life and in the next. And that's a fact. There's a truth of the creation that Allah Ta'ala has told us through verses like this. He says in the Quran, he tells the Prophet ﷺ to tell us, he says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. He tells the Prophet to tell us, say, he says, if you love Allah Ta'ala, follow me, Allah will love you. Follow me, Allah will love you. Follow me in your sayings, in your actions, in all your states, in your ideas, in everything. Follow me, Allah will love you. What's waiting for the person whom the creator of the heavens and the earth loves? Every moment of their life is a moment of bliss. That's in this world. What about the next? And so we find ourselves in Ramadan now, this month, where our egos and our nufus, our lower desires and passions are dulled by fasting. The devils are chained up. It's a time for us to think, bring ourselves to account, and to ask ourselves, where have we put the prophets in our lives? Have we put them where they belong? In the forefront of our minds, as guiding stars for us, as compasses in all affairs of our life? Where do our actions and our sayings and interactions with other people lie with regard to being in accordance of what they've come with or against it? All these things, reflecting upon them, this is the time for it. It's hard to rationalize what you've been doing in Ramadan when your nafs is weak and the shaitan is chained up. It's a month of bringing yourself to account, rethinking your relationship with your Lord and your Prophet, and to bring ourselves to a higher state of following of this blessed Prophet of our Ummah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So ask Allah Ta'ala to make this month one of new openings for each and every one of us, to make us people who follow the Prophets in all of our states and actions and sayings, and to make us people who put the Prophets in the forefront of our minds and our hearts, and to really make them leaders for ourselves in all matters of our lives. We ask Allah Ta'ala to accept all our fast and our worship in this blessed month, to make us people of the elect of the fast of the elect, and to make us in this community people who spread the message of Allah Ta'ala to all the corners of the earth. And He blesses every single one of us and takes care of all of our needs, whether they are personal or familial or communal. We ask Him for this for all of us and for everyone who ever asked us for dua. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين.